Hi there, thank you so much for watching this video that introduces the ReImagine Africa series. It's the very first video of the series that I decided was super important to do, having a look at how Africans, those who associate with Africa, those who feel the beats of Africa in themselves, whatever that means to you. This is a video series that's designed for those individuals to start to rethink, how can Mother Africa reclaim who she is through us as Africans stepping up into helping Africa become the superpower that she has the capacity to be. So it's exactly that. It's that reimagine, unlearning and relearning for Africa. How do Africans reimagine, unlearn and relearn? What are some of the things that as Africans we can unlearn so that when we start to reimagine the Africa we want to build, we can show up for it? So we're going to be talking about a range of different topics, and this particular video is all about unlearning this idea that someone is coming to save us. Okay, let me explain. So a lot of the time, unfortunately, what happens in African contexts, and this is not just in Africa, but with so many individuals and organizations, teams, whatever it is, there is this misconception that someone is going to come in to save or liberate us from whatever it is we're going through. And unfortunately, what happens with that mentality is it creates a mentality of sitting back and being in the back seat, or waiting for some kind of handout or some kind of assistance that's going to come from goodness knows where. Now, the thing is, this is something that we can look at and go, oh my goodness, it's horrible, but it happens a lot more often than we realize at different levels, whether we're talking waiting for government to assist and to provide whatever it is we feel government owes us, whether we're talking about organizations in terms of a venture capital, whatever it is, there is this mentality of waiting for someone to come and save us. Now, I'm not saying that we need to be completely independent of sources we're supposed to be working with and collaborating with, and completely stand independent of those. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that we can collaborate, but it's important that we understand our power in every single thing as we start to reclaim the Africa who is a superpower. It's important that we play our role by taking initiative. Now, let's break this conversation down into 3 parts. And those are the same 3 parts that you'll see in this entire series. The first one, awareness. Raising awareness is all about understanding through asking the questions of where, how, when, and all of those other W and H in the context of how questions. And these are the questions that really help us to understand, raise our awareness around when this happens. When do we find ourselves in situations where we're saying, someone's going to come and save us, let's sit back, let's be complacent, let's relax. Now ask yourself as an African, whatever that means to you, when are the situations where Africans will sit back and ask those questions? Who is usually involved in those situations? What is the context? Where are we usually in the context, whether it's place-wise, where are we usually in the time in history when we ask these questions or we have these expectations of others, where we sit back literally on the back seat of our own lives because we've placed our power in someone else's hands. So start there. Let's start there. Raise the awareness. So some of the questions that you can ask are the questions that you'll see on your screen now that are really important. And if you go into the chat, I'd really appreciate it if you went into the comments. Let me know, what are some of those contextual things that you've noticed about this idea of someone is going to come and save me. Let me sit back. Let me rest on my laurels. Second thing that we're going to look at is action. How do we take action? Because as much as awareness can save us, it's important for us to understand that we have to do something about it. What can we do? Because unlearning is very much made up of this idea of introducing a new default and saying, okay, so I understand that I need to unlearn, but what do I replace that old way of thinking or that outdated mentality with? That's when the action comes into play. So in action, in this particular context, it would be taking initiative. Let's take initiative. Let's get ourselves into positions where we're always looking, we're always tracking, we're always having conversations with other individuals that are going to help us to always be on the ball. I heard this amazing saying by Les Brown once. He said that the rate of change that we're currently living through needs for us to almost run just to stand still. It means that because everything is changing so quickly around us in the professional senses and in the personal senses that relate to our daily lives, it's important that we are always on the move. The future of work favors those of us who can consistently be working and moving forward. So in what ways can you set yourself up to be consistently on the move? Always tracking what's going on around you and always making some kind of action towards where you know you want to be, instead of sitting back and going, the government's going to come and save all of us. So that's definitely the second thing that falls under action. So the first one we started with was taking awareness, taking stock, raising your awareness. Second one was around action. Third one is keep it up. So unlearning is very much based on the idea of keeping those changes happening. It's one thing to start off with a new routine, a new ritual, a new habit, a new way of thinking or mentality. But the third thing that's really important is, how do you keep it up? What are the things that you can do so that it's consistent and it starts to actually hardwire in our brains that we're not sitting back, we are taking initiative. So what can you do? How can you keep it up? Let's have a little bit of a discussion around that. Two things that you can start to do. First one is accountability. Now, this accountability is how you can set up your environment so that you are always accountable to yourself. When you don't show up as your best self, when you sit back and wait for others, how do you make sure that you feel it? A lot of the time we can be very kind to ourselves, which is fine because we deserve that. But when you believe that you should have shown up better, how do you make yourself feel it? How do you give yourself a tiny pinch to say, okay, Zanele, you didn't show up as your best self there, so this is what you're losing in that context. So how can I make myself really, really feel that I didn't show up as my best self? And taking accountability is a really big part of that. And then the second thing about taking accountability is surrounding ourselves with other Africans who are also taking initiative, showing up as their best selves. And that's a really big one with accountability, because it means we've got people around us that we can consistently chat to about what they're doing. Hey, what are you up to? What are you building? Who are you speaking to? Where are you accessing those amazing resources? And we're consistently co-creating and collaborating as fellow Africans, which is one of the most powerful things that I know Africans have access to. And the very second thing, when it comes to actually making it stick, or this third part about keeping it up, is your daily systems. In what ways have you set up a routine on a consistent basis daily that helps you to show up as your best self? If I was to look at your diary every single day, does your diary tell me that you're one of those individuals that sits back and waits? Or does your diary show me that you are one of those people who wakes up in the morning and shows up consistently in whatever way? Whether it means you're building conversations on a daily basis with people you know can help you to get to where you want to be, or it just means that every single day you're making some kind of effort to tap into the best version of yourself that can show up consistently in the future of work. And those are some of the things that really, really, really help you to keep it up, to keep up this idea of being someone who takes initiative and shows up consistently, and not someone who sits back and says, someone is coming to save me. Unfortunately, that's something that as Africans, if we want to move forward and claim the Africa superpower we know we are, we need to unlearn sitting back and waiting for someone to come and save us. Thank you so much for spending time with me on this video. It's been Zanele Njapha, the UnLearning Lady, and I look forward to seeing you in the second video that speaks about the second thing that as Africans we can start to unlearn as we reimagine Africa. And the way we'll do that is we'll look at 3 different points. We'll start off with what that thing is that we need to unlearn. We'll look at awareness. How do we raise awareness around it? Secondly, we'll look at the action we need to take. And then thirdly, how do we keep it up? Because once we've started it, it's important that we know how to keep it going. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you once again soon. Looking forward to hearing all of your comments, suggestions, and anything else you have to share with me in the comments below. Bye for now.